Hello, everyone. Welcome to the SEAL Systems How to Manage Your Documents and Information webinar. And my name is Jared Earl. I am the marketing manager for SEAL Systems. And thank you all for joining. If you are looking for how to manage your documents and information, you are indeed in the right place. So, as you can see, I am also joined by David, and that is also someone who has a lot more experience than I do. So, we're going to be using him as our knowledge reference for today. And the agenda of what we're going to go over is going to be basically going over DMS, learning the implications of what it does for an overall business, how it benefits certain businesses, and what can be the possible implications of not having one in your business. So that's going to be the basic agenda for what we're going to cover for today. And we don't want to take up too much of your time, but that is going to be the general overview. And don't forget, we also have a feature for the questions. If you guys need to ask anything or have any comments or questions, you can use the questions feature in GoToWebinar and fill it out right there, and we will address it as soon as we see it. So thank you for that in advance. And yeah, let's go ahead and meet the other person that's right below me, at least on my screen. David, how you doing?
Yeah, hi Jared. Thanks for having me. I'm good.
Yeah, so David, just tell us a little about yourself and your experience with SEAL Systems up to this point.
Yeah, my name is David Solomonic. I've been with SEAL Systems for a little over 20 years now, so a lot of miles traveled in those years. I've worked with a lot of different clients across many industries, working in enterprise applications, right? Work helping clients with large scale deployments and sort of engineering solutions to fit more of what SEAL Systems does, which is document distribution, output management systems for SAP, Team Center, and other application platforms. Yeah. So I've worked in document information exchange and had a lot of experience with that. At least seen a lot of things happen. So we kind of thought this would be a good webinar to put together to talk about the potential pitfalls and the benefits of DMS, at least at an introductory level. So here we are.
For sure. So that being said, let's go ahead and get started. So David, give us like a general overview for just those who don't know. Just give us like a general consensus or basic definition of document management.
Yeah, so with document management, I think a lot of people see it in different ways. I had to look this up, but IBM defines document management as a system or process used to capture or track and store documents electronically. Generally, this is going to be word processing files, right? Business documents, Excel, Word, could be CAD files, digital images. And essentially what document management is it's a way to save files and index them and then have them in a controlled environment, and generally in one or a series of applications. So in a workflow, we might have ways to connect different departments and have those documents controlled so that each department gets exactly what they're expecting.
Right.
So this is more or less what a DMS does for you. And if you think about it like a kind of like a what you have on your Windows or Mac, you have a file system, and that's more or less a simple DMS. It's not a DMS in the way that we're going to talk about it today, but it does store and catalog your files. So more
Yeah.
or less a file storage and indexing system. Yeah, that's what it is.
Oh, awesome. That makes a lot of sense. And it seems that most people do have some in some capacity, whether they do know it or don't. But what are some of the challenges of people that either A, have a DMS but do it in a very manual process, or just simply don't have one at all? What are some of the challenges and risks that can happen when you're in those instances?
Mm. Well, there's a lot of challenges with doing it manually and not having a good control system. So files stored on the network drive are generally not reliable, may not even be fully secure. So taking that example of Microsoft Windows, if I save a file and it sits on a drive, I might have additional copies of it. It may be all over the place on a USB stick, or it may be on my network. And then I don't really know which one's the newest one. So it could be difficult. I could lose hours of work editing the wrong file even. So I don't even know if I'm working on the right content. And if I'm sharing this on a network in my business, I won't even know if the right people are connecting to the right document at all. Maybe cloud backup could help. So cloud is definitely a way to store files, but without any control or reliability check or actual like defined workflow process, you just don't know if you're going to have the right thing or not.
Right. Yeah,
Yeah.
that makes a lot of sense. And I'm I'm assuming even with some of those, that has to come with some legal risk as well, right?
Yeah, so and that's a good point. Legal issues like working with the FAA or FDA, you get a lot of government oversight, and your
Hmm.
documents have to be exact, right? If you produce a product, if you manufacture a tractor, for example, or even an airplane, right? Your documents have to match what's actually out in the field, what's in the world. And
Right.
so those can carry hefty fines if it's not the right documents, if they're not prepared correctly or stored correctly.
Hmm.
And of course, not just time and money, but it could also carry the risk of accidents and other issues during maintenance on those
Right.
products. Just having them out in the world trying to sell them, it can definitely cause problems.
Yeah, and that's the last thing most organizations want to deal with
Hmm.
is, legal troubles on top of doing things that are obviously going to be strenuous with their processes. Oftentimes, it does produce a bottleneck from what I've seen. And
Hmm.
when it does, when I do look at businesses and when they want to actually implement a solution, some of the biggest things that they're focused on is, okay, how much time does it save me and how much money does it save me? So those are
Hmm.
mainly the two of the main things of, why would they would be incentivized to do or implement a solution like that. But
Hmm.
what are some
Hmm.
of the benefits of using a DMS?
Well, the benefits definitely come down to a better work process. Like I mentioned, if you have a business that runs multiple departments and they all need access to certain files, having the same files across the network, making sure you're working on one copy of it or one released and verified copy of it, it brings everything under one roof. So it's a little bit of work to set up, and it's definitely a little bit of training for everyone to use. But then the information is connected, it's stored together, it's indexed properly, it's
Mm,
maintained. You have ways to get back to previous versions. It can be linked in sort of these document structures, so you can kind of link references between documents so that they mean something to each other.
right.
Properties of the documents are in there, so you also have like measurements and tolerances and material details, which is great for the manufacturing side. And then also transparency of information, right? So if multiple departments are using this, it all kind of rolls up to managers, department leads, so they can see what's going on in the company and have a good overview of where everything's at.
Hmm.
That's really key to this is sort of that searching and indexing this information, being able to kind of put it together, and being able to also archive this stuff later and still have access
Yeah.
to it. Like I mentioned with FAA, I think they need something like 50 or 100 years of document control. So you got to be able to produce those files if they're asking for it. So that
Hmm.
those are really the key things for DMS, I would say.
Interesting. Yeah, that's definitely something that I've seen when it comes to even just things that I've witnessed on the back end of things when it comes to seeing things behind the scenes. So that's a good breakdown
Hmm.
of it. But for let's do a hypothetical right quick.
Hmm.
Because if I wanted to explain it to somebody that was an 8-year-old, for example, say an 8-year-old came up to you, knocked on your door, boom, boom, boom. David, I want to know like some key features of DMS and why, it would benefit me, and maybe say 3 features or less. Like, what would that look like, and how
Hmm.
would you explain it in a very simplified manner?
Well, it's funny with DMS and, and an 8-year-old using DMS. I guess, first thing that springs to mind is using something like cataloging Legos, right? If they have Lego sets, they're
Hmm.
actually working with a lot of pieces, a lot of parts. Gives you some kind of control over that information. So you might have your assembly instructions, how to assemble the Legos, how to maintain them later, care and maintenance of your Legos, right? And one thing that kind of just randomly comes to mind is even tracking value of those Legos. So that gets into kind of finance. It'd be pretty funny for an 8-year-old to be using a DMS for Legos, but it definitely fits. And if
Right.
keeping track of this stuff and having an idea of where everything's at, I think that's a smart way to do it rather than putting it on a piece of paper or store it in Notepad and it's gone, in your file system somewhere. So yeah, that's they can definitely track all their Lego sets and build from there.
For sure, for sure. Yeah, and I know some of those Lego sets can include millions of pieces in some instances. So it could be very useful to someone like an 8-year-old. Who knows, man?
Yeah,
So
right,
I know
right.
some of the businesses can have millions and millions of documents. So there can be some
Hmm.
overlap, quiet as kept.
Hmm.
So
Right.
so I do want to mention some applications to real life, to where it can actually benefit real businesses. And we've actually done some of these at Seal Systems, and we actually have some case studies and white papers on how it's actually impacted certain businesses where they've implemented this solution. So I will actually send these to everyone who is registered for the webinar as soon as the webinar concludes. You will receive a case study that is going to be directly correlated to DMS, and you guys can look at it and take it over and let us know what you think and see, how this could actually fit into your current organization. So that's something that we've done in the past. And David, have you seen, just from your personal experience, have you seen transformations when you go behind the scenes for some of these companies you've worked with?
Oh, definitely, yeah. We've had clients using SAP, for example, storing documents in what they call the generic object services or the business document services. And those are kind of like just having a paperclip in SAP. Those documents can get lost easily. They sort of live only in the moment. And transforming this into a DMS and having proper document control, they're saving themselves lots of time, especially having to reattach files, right? You're only doing it once in the DMS and it's available forever. And these can be things like maintenance plans, and it could be warranty contracts and other kinds of documents. And you don't want to have to be digging for that stuff, when you're in the middle of a repair, or especially with working with a supplier on something and trying to get something fixed. So having that in a DMS, being able to call it up right on the spot and using it all over the place with maintenance work or purchasing, they definitely see the benefit immediately. Yeah.
For sure. Yeah, for sure. So with that being said, I definitely want to be able to let you guys have the opportunity to ask some questions. So I want to be able to now open the floor for anyone who has had any questions for either what we've covered thus far, or any questions on what we possibly missed, or questions that you feel like you would have for a document management system. So if you have those questions, go ahead and put them in the chat right now, and we will go ahead and answer those whenever we see them. Alrighty, here's one I see, and it goes over and asks a question: can it handle both physical and digital documents?
Well, so the DMS is generally going to be a digital platform. Like a filing cabinet would be a physical DMS, I suppose. Mostly you're going to want to scan physical documents in and put them in the DMS directly. So it might be a little bit of work cataloging the document or getting it in there, but OCR, AI tools, there's a lot of ways to automate the process, especially around thousands of documents. But yeah, it can be generally you take the physical, turn it into digital, and then once it's all digital, then you're set. Everything's controlled at that point. So yeah, that's the way you want to do that. A good question.
For sure. Yep. Okay. Here goes another one. It says, is this scalable for larger enterprises?
And that depends on the DMS. Yeah. So scalability is always going to be an IT question. And I would say, like with SAP DMS, you can generally scale. I've seen some of our clients use DMS across regions, across countries, continents. They're actually doing syncing up. So it essentially synchronizes the data between them. Most of that is done in the background and is completely seamless. And given a good network connection, it's no issue. So you can just add storage locations, you can add file locations, you can add the indexing, the DMS stuff, and pretty much scale it across the world, for your whole business. Yeah, for sure.
Awesome. Awesome. Yeah. And let's see if I have any more questions, or if I see any more questions in the chat. If not, I will go ahead and move on to the next section. I'll just give it a few more seconds. And then we will continue on. Alrighty. Alrighty, so we're at the latter half of the webinar, and this goes into more so closing remarks and takeaways. So, David, what would you say would be your, takeaways that you've had on the webinar thus far, or, final information that you would want to give out to all the attendees?
Yeah, I think mostly just the closing remarks on this is that DMS is really essential to good business workflow, right? If you're controlling your documents, you know what they're doing. You're able to collaborate across departments. Everything's correct, reliable, secure. You basically have a great system to start with. That then feeds into everything else in the business. You know, think about warehouse, shipping, a lot of the supply chain, maintenance work, even just design work, drafting models and anything that you connect your business to. DMS feeds that. So using systems like we have a little bit of slide there, some logos on that screen is using systems like SAP or SharePoint or even Teamcenter for design drawings. You can really control your information and documents. There's good ways to do that with these systems, and there's plenty of good DMSs out there that'll help you get there from small to large applications. One of the things I would say as a caveat is if you do start with a small DMS or your own, make sure you have a way to export all the index information and the files if you plan to move or migrate to another one later, to a larger one if you have more needs, for example. And then we obviously we don't do DMS ourselves. We just think it's really important. And it definitely feeds a lot of what we do too. So we're mostly involved in IT, output management, output system servers, and document distribution. And that DMS really does feed into that. It does create that foundation for us. But we do work with partners like LeverX, who's really great at helping set up a SAP DMS system, tailoring it for your user journey and your company. Makit with us on the Teamcenter side, and then also Citione is our partner for CAD systems and integrations like that. So if you want to get in touch with any of them or any of us, we're happy to help. We definitely want to see the world use DMS and systems like that to control the information. So we're happy to have a chat with you on that one. Yeah, and give you some more feedback.
For sure, for sure. That's a really great point. And for on my end, in terms of some final thoughts and resources that I wanted to give for you guys, we actually also have a customer knowledge hub that you guys can check out. The link is on the screen right now and will also be provided to you in the email following the webinar. So you can actually look at this and be able to get in touch with some of our tutorials and other educational content that we posted. And this is some of the things that we've done, and we can actually just have this all regarding around DMS. Some are regarding DMS, some are regarding more SAP. So we have a wide range of stuff that we've done that is educational that you can check out that could be beneficial for you to go ahead and learn. So that is what we have currently. And also, if you have a video idea for us, or if you have anything else that you'd like for us to know, you can share us your idea or send us a general inquiry to the email on the screen below, info@sealsystems.com. So go ahead and send us something if you have any ideas for improvement on that end. So yeah, that's what we have on that front. And we will also send the video on demand of the webinar to you after it concludes as well, just in case if you missed the early parts of it, no worries, we got you covered. So with that being said, that is the conclusion of today's webinar. So I wanted to not only thank you for your time, but also thank David for his time. He took some time out of his day to be here as well. But I wanted to thank everyone here today, and be on the lookout for more webinars in the future, as we do plan to do more in the coming months. So be on the lookout for those. And with that being said, I thank you for joining today. So talk soon.